Hi all, my name is Haley Comet and welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet where we discuss all things astrology. And today, planets conjoining the South Node. Loves, I am so happy that my community here on YouTube is as much of North Node nerds as I am. Seriously, I think nodes are one of the most fascinating aspects of astrology and really unearths where our natural gifts are, as well as how we can challenge ourselves for the purpose of growth. So I have many North Node series on my channel. You can see it by house, you could see it by sign and house. So I encourage you to take a deep dive there. This video is for the individuals who have asked, Haley, I have Sun on my South Node. I have Moon on my South Node. What does this mean? Because when you have a planet on your South Node, it imparts gifts, sure, but it's so important that it is funneled and directed towards that North Node purpose. Because South Node is tricky. South Node is addicting. South Node is like the fast food chain that you frequent, or the bar that you are regular at, where the bartender knows your drink. It's not that we need to never go to that fast food chain or never go to that bar, but we need to be mindful about the frequency because it is our comfort zone. Eating fast food can be comfortable. Going to the bar can be comfortable. But is it where our greatest growth and happiness lies? No. Because with North Node, it's like the restaurant all the way on the other side of your town. You've never been there before and it makes you feel uncomfortable. You don't know what the prices are gonna be. You don't know what the food's gonna be like. So part of you will feel tempted to just drive through your favorite fast food restaurant because like I know what to expect. I get the same thing every time. I know I'll be able to say my order. I won't be embarrassed. Let me just do that rather than dare venture to the other side. But you could find when you get to the other side, it's actually way more fulfilling. It's better food. It's better for your body. And then same for the bar example. It's like you can stay in your South Node and almost like indulge yourself, right? But you're going to lose out on the opportunity for growth and fulfillment. So what does this mean when you have a placement conjoining it? Because it's pretty fascinating looking at birth charts with individuals who are like, Haley, I'm a North Node Leo, but a lot of my chart is in Aquarius. So how am I meant to release this energy to me when I embody it? And that's the thing. When we talk about nodes in modern astrology, I commonly hear it described as, we must release the South Node. I am not of that belief. That was not taught to me. That was not part of my study. How I've always come to understand the nodes through my study and through my mentors was around this balancing act. Around South Node is what comes easy to us. It is in 8 talents, and we should appreciate that. So you should appreciate your planet that you have conjoining. But it's where we can get stuck. So we have to balance it by going to the North Node, even though it's hard, even though we aren't as familiar with that side of town, with that type of cuisine. It's where our greatest growth and fulfillment lies. So you are being asked to balance this axis within your chart. And it's not that you should totally, like in that example, just forget and abandon the energy of Aquarius and only live out of Leo. But it's important because you have such a comfort zone in Aquarius themes, it might be a little more challenging to get yourself out of that rut and go to the North Node Leo. So we should appreciate our South Node and the placements that we have near it, but we can't get stuck. So this video will go through each of the planets and what it means if you have it on the South Node. But to a broader level, just know if you have placements in the South Node, certainly appreciate the planets. They can certainly indicate certain gifts that you have, but keep reorienting your focus to the North Node, funneling that towards the North Node mission. Like in that example, you have all this Aquarius energy, this connection and attunement to the collective, to humanitarian values. Take that and put it towards shining your light, being creative, living from your heart space, the Leo-like themes. Again, for sign-by-sign analysis, I would go to the videos that I've done, but I just want to highlight, if you do find that it's both, I'm not saying ignore the Aquarius, balance it, put that Aquarius energy, funnel it towards the North Node Leo energy. So that's why it's so important to befriend the planets that are on your South Node, because they can strengthen you in your North Node mission, but they can also be your downfall. So I'm gonna take it planet by planet. Timestamps are below. And what's also important is throughout the course of this video, I will use the term past lives to describe the energy of South Node. If that is not an energy that resonates with you, that is totally fine. I just want you to mentally sub in early in life, okay? Whatever works for you. I just tend to speak of it that way because that's a concept that resonates for me. So let's start with Sun conjoining South Node. You have natural abilities from a past life around creativity, around being someone of prominence. You could have been royalty or someone who was just known, someone who was visible, someone who had a defined personality. You could have been someone who really naturally commanded attention and respect, and a lot of attention and popularity was given to you. And while you should appreciate that, do know that's not your pathway to success in this lifetime. Because with South Node, it can be a little trickster. It can whisper to us, I can tell you how to get what you want and to find growth and fulfillment. You just need to do what you need to do. You need to have attention and adoration and applause on you, and that's how you will feel fulfilled. But it will come up empty in this lifetime. Because when you have a planet on the South Node, it almost like, I think of it like a vacuum sensation. It can kind of suck it out, where it's like maybe the applause and other people validating you would have been enough in a prior incarnation, but in this lifetime, it just isn't. It just isn't enough. And it's not really what your soul is after anyway. What it wants you to do is take the natural abilities of the sun, leadership, magnetism, presence, and be able to put it towards a larger purpose. It is not just about you, but it is how the very experience of you being yourself can benefit other individuals. It is sort of a lifetime that you are being asked to decenter yourself a bit, and that you are being asked to sort of find your identity through kind of merging or blending with the collective. Because South Node, I think of it like a vacuum. It's actually a very spiritual influence, and when you have it on Sun, there can be confusion around who it is that you are, but also you can find that when you sort of merge and melt with the collective and the collective humanitarian desires and, you know, the collective pain and like how you can benefit other people, that can be both helpful for society as well as helpful for your soul to progress. You can use the sun gifts into your North Node purpose. So like using your leadership abilities to be able to organize events for other people, being able to use your creativity to be able to create a mural for the humanitarian cause that you want to champion. It doesn't necessarily have to be humanitarian, it can also be spiritual. Anything that dissolves the experience of it's just me and I need all the attention and the applause around a bigger cause, merging into something bigger than just you. Because South Node on Sun, there will be a whisper around, you don't need to be doing this. You just need to go to where you're applauded. You need to go into situations where people will hype you up and make you feel validated. And that might have worked in prior incarnations. But in this lifetime, unless that experience of becoming the person that you are is funneled into your North Node purpose, you're gonna just feel this emptiness around all this applause. And you're like, why do I not feel satisfied? Oh, because it's not just about me, it's about how I can take my natural abilities, the way that I shine, and put it towards a broader purpose. Feel connected to something bigger than myself. That's new for your soul. In prior incarnations, it was just kind of about you, being the person that you are. And in this lifetime, you have lots of talents, you have natural abilities, you have a magnetism, but what are you going to do with it? And it's important that you don't make decisions out of your ego or your identity or how you feel it'll be perceived by others. Because with South Node Sun, like I said, it can be the fast food restaurant that we frequently go to, the bar that we go to. That energy can feel comfy every so often. It can feel comfy to just be worried about yourself and want to have applause and validation from other people on you. But it's like, you're not going to find the growth and the fulfillment in the bar that you frequent every single Friday night and that you know the ins and outs of the furniture. You're not going to find fulfillment ordering number 3 at Taco Bell. You know, the fast, easy delights are kind of the South Node because it's what comes easy to us. And it's like with Sun there, Sun qualities, solar qualities can come easier to you, but there would just be this energy where it just feels like you've either deja vu, done that before in a prior incarnation, or it just won't feel as satisfactory. So appreciate your sun, appreciate your South Node, and continue to pull those attributes into the North Node. Like you can be creative, but put that creativity towards your North Node purpose. You can have an ego and a personality, but put that personality towards a bigger cause. And since South Node is like a vacuum sensation, a lot of times these individuals can feel very confused. They can feel confused on the person that they are. They can oscillate between like God complex and feeling like I am nothing. They can have an interesting relationship to their own ego. And you're gonna find balancing it out with the North Node is going to help you remember who you are. Because it's like you become the person that you are in the process of taking yourself out of your comfort zone. It's like, it's not about who you naturally are, it's about the process of discovering yourself, the process of becoming yourself. And with South Node on Sun, a lot of these individuals can have a really hard time knowing who they are, looking for other people for validation and applause. Tell me that I'm enough, tell me that I'm good enough, tell me that my shine is bright enough. But it's like, it's gonna feel bottomless, essentially, looking for other people to tell you who you are. And what's funny is you find who you are when you dissolve into a purpose or collective that's sort of bigger than yourself, a purpose or a why that's bigger than yourself. I also do want to mention Sun in astrology governs our father, paternal figure. So there also could be certain karmic experiences with our father, paternal figure, certain confusion around them. So if you have moon on the South Node, so in prior incarnations, if that is a concept that resonates with you, you could have been a mother or someone who's a matriarch or really big on family. You could have been someone who took care of other people. The nurturing part of your personality, the caring, the attunement to the past is very much developed. Somewhat to your detriment. Because with moon on South Node, there is a strong emotional sensitivity, which again, we should appreciate. You are very intelligent to an emotional level, but there can be this energy around being so attached to the past that you have a hard time building the future. This is a really important one to dial in because both South Node and moon sort of have these themes around the past and what was. And having them together can sort of indicate someone who might, not want to venture to try new things because they want to stick to what they know, even if it was just painful for them. They can hold on to past emotional stories because even if it was painful, at least it's familiar. And with South Node on moon, they can take care of things because there could be this energy with moon on South Node around going to access and nurturing, like whether it's yourself or others, like constantly, throwing yourself pity parties or allowing your emotions to dictate your entire reality, as well as when it comes to other people, not really challenging them, or worse, wanting to just like do their work for them. Like you cannot do people's push-ups for them. And this is sort of energy where it's like, oh, was that hard? Okay, I'm just gonna do that for you. Whether it's like, your children with homework or something of that nature, there's this energy where over-nurturing can be smothering, right? And while you are attuned to the emotional landscape and you have natural nurturing abilities, a natural emotional connection, you could be very attached to the past, have a natural appreciation for it. It's important that you aren't so attached to the past that you forget to build your future, because both South Node and moon do kind of speak to themes of comfort. So I do feel that, I'm glad you're watching this video right now, because I do feel this is a particular placement where you can be attached to the past, even if it's painful, because it feels familiar. People from your past, even if it's painful, because they feel familiar. There could be an energy to live your life through the lens of nostalgia and forgetting to build your future and like get yourself out of your emotions every so often to continue to voyage into what is unknown. And I also want to draw into focus nurturing, because like I said, there's a natural nurturing ability. You can have a natural attunement to kids. You can have a natural appreciation for family. But there can also be this energy where nurturing, you could have gone overboard within that energy. And that is possible. You can water a plant too much. You can, feed your dog too much. You can baby your children too much. Like true nurturing is like a balance of structure as well as the emotional lens. And it feels like you could have kind of gotten that out of balance. So it's important this lifetime that you nurture without going overboard or going to excess with it. And both yourself too, because there could be energy around, okay, you don't need to go to that scary gym because you have fitness goals. Like just stay in your cozy bed. There could just be a connection to always wanting to nurture yourself, which again, we want to take care of ourselves, but to the detriment, to the point of like, okay, at some point, self-care isn't just sleep, bubble baths, and chocolate. Sometimes self-care is getting up and having discipline and pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone, which is part of what you are here to learn. I also want to draw in a focus. For some individuals, I do want to highlight that moon is the celestial body that has to do with our mother. So this can indicate certain karmic experiences. You could have known your mom in a past life or have certain karma that you're sort of here to balance the scales with in this life. So take the emotional sensitivity, the nurturing ability, and put it towards the North Node. Because again, it's not a flaw. It's comfy for you to be in that emotional way, to, nurture yourself to the detriment of really taking care of yourself from a pure way. But put it towards the North Node. Continue to challenge yourself. Continue to have boundaries with the emotional nurturing that you will give. Continue to put how deeply it is you care for people and causes towards a bigger, broader purpose as depicted by your North Node. So next up is not a planet at all, but this is if you have South Node on your Ascendant. I want to highlight this because I get a lot of confused clients sometimes. Like, what does this mean? I'm supposed to let go of being the person I am. Listen, this would denote someone, if a past life resonates for you, would denote someone who did things their own way and didn't have to acquiesce, didn't have to collaborate, didn't have to compromise in a past life. And you were a leader, you were a trailblazer, you didn't have to answer to anyone. And with that, there can be this energy with South Node on the Ascendant around in this life, doing things your own way and having complete and utter freedom to do things your own way and march the beat of your own drum isn't going to give you the satisfaction you think it will. Because in past lives, it was like when stuff got tough, you just went your own way. And it gave you lots of natural abilities that you should appreciate, independence, self-sufficiency. But in this lifetime, you can take independence to the excess. Because hyper-independence can be a trauma response, right? Like being like, I don't need anyone, I can take care of myself because I don't trust that my needs will be met by other people. And for you, to a soul level, your greatest growth happens when you collaborate and partner with other individuals. When you allow yourself to need and be needed. It's gonna feel uncomfy, but it's what your soul wanted to learn. It's what you signed up for. And being able to take that South Node on Ascendant gift for courage and being the person that you are, and being able to infuse that into a connection. The universe will send individuals your way that will help you develop as an individual. And it's just important when you feel called to leave a connection, really checking in and saying, okay, is this out of my fears? Like me feeling like, oh, it'd just be easier if I went my own way? Or is this out of me genuinely no longer being able to grow within this relationship? Because with South Node, like I said, it's addictive and it's tricky because it's our comfort zone. And it's just really important to check in with your motivations. Like, okay, do I truly want to leave this relationship because it's toxic, it's destructive, whatever? Or am I just scared of intimacy and trusting other people? Because your soul didn't really experience that in past lifetime. It was all about you going your own way, charting your own course in life. And in this lifetime, a lot of your growth happens when you intentionally partner with other individuals. This is South Node conjunct Mercury. So love, you've lived past lives from your mind, okay? You were someone in past life who was intelligent, brainiac, shall we say, someone who was a strong communicator. And we should appreciate the gifts that it's given you, your mind, your words. But it's important to know that your life purpose isn't something that your brain will be able to wrap itself around. Your life purpose isn't one that's meant to be understood, it's meant to be felt. It's almost like getting out of your brain and getting into your heart and getting into your soul. Because there will be situations in life that you can't figure out, that you can't logicize and break down and organize. There needs to be this energy of surrender. because South Node sort of like mutes or sucks the energy out of the planet that it's on. So it's like, as smart as you are and as well-spoken as you are, there will be certain situations in this lifetime where it's like, I'm intelligent and this does not make sense to me. Like, I thought if I did what was logical and did the right thing, happiness would be waiting there. I just thought, one college degree plus one spouse plus one pet, where is happiness? Where is growth? Why is the logical path not bringing me the fulfillment that I desire? Because it's not about what makes sense, okay? It's about sinking in to your spirit, to your heart, to what feels right. And we should appreciate the gifts of Mercury, your communicative abilities, but you could funnel it towards that North Node purpose. So speaking out about that North Node theme, right? Combining the logic with Mercury with your soul, with your heart path. Being able to take the ability of Mercury, not to try to rationalize and make sense of life, but to be able to convey what it is that you are learning in an effective way. Because just Mercury to its own devices, with Mercury, you're living from the South Node, is when you always do what makes sense or what's logical and ignore what your heart says, what your soul says. There will be certain elements of life and certain decisions where it's like, mentally, this is not the right decision, but just feels right. And it's like strengthening the part of yourself that doesn't live life from a logical lens. And you can appreciate your logic and your communication ability, but put it towards the North Node aims and means. And Mercury in astrology does rule siblings. So I just want to highlight for those who may resonate that there can be certain karmic experience with siblings in this lifetime, like we know them from a past life or something of that nature. And I want you to be gentle with yourself, because South Node does sort of mute and understate the planet that it's on. So you might be hearing what I'm saying about, like, logic and intelligence, and feel like your mind works differently, or you might not feel like you're a great communicator. And what I just want to highlight is that South Node gives this sort of spiritual, murky energy to it. And it's interesting when combined with Mercury. I typically find that these individuals are very intelligent, but not in ways that is societally quantifiable. And because their past lives were so mercurial, they can feel less than intellectually, or feel like they shouldn't speak out because of that, because they process the world in a different way. And it's not that you shouldn't communicate, right? You should use that Mercury towards your North Node purpose, but it's important that you realize what it is that you're meant to speak out on won't necessarily be firmly led from logic and intelligence. It'll be felt in the heart space. It'll be felt in the soul space. It's about balancing the Mercury with the other components of our life. So if you have Venus conjunct the South Node, so with Venus on the South Node, you had past lives, if that's a concept that resonates, around being someone very beautiful, very popular. And if you look at individuals who have Venus conjoining the South Node, Britney Spears is the one who comes to mind, but they typically are so charming and so beautiful. And because you embodied Venus in a past life, right? And you bring that in this lifetime. So these individuals can have a natural charm, natural popularity, you can't help but like them, natural flirtiness, natural, romantic inclinations, things of that nature. And it's just important to know that feeding our South Node won't give us the growth that we desire, even if we think it will. Because Venus is also money, it's beauty. So a lot of times individuals who have this can feel disillusioned because, when they get the money, they get the love, there could be this energy around like, okay, what comes next? Like it can almost feel frivolous at times, or it can feel materialistic. Not that you are materialistic, but there could be this energy where it's like you want these things because you feel like that's where happiness will lie, is being surrounded by beauty and having nice things. And if you get them, there's just this like craving for something more. And with South Node Venus, I also just want to draw to the focus around Venus wants things to be pretty and nice. And it's not that things can't be pretty and nice in life, but there could have been such a focus on things being pretty and nice in a past life where it was like you didn't deal with like the ugly truth of the matter. Like you might have just wanted to keep things surface level in a connection where you didn't want to like dig deep and really see if you and your partner were compatible. It's like, oh, we look good together. They make enough money to support me, so let's just like be together. Like with South Node Venus, there can be this energy where there was a desire for harmony or wanting things to be nice and pretty from the outside, that was what took precedence. And life can be ugly sometimes, right? And while you should appreciate your aesthetics that Venus gives you, your natural way to make things more beautiful, oftentimes these individuals are very beautiful, charismatic, and sociable in this lifetime. It's less about just being well-liked and having everything be pretty in this lifetime. You can appreciate those abilities you have, but putting them towards your North Node purpose, taking popularity to point towards causes that you might be passionate about, your sense of beauty and being able to beautify this planet. Like South Node does give it sort of this like spiritual collective energy, so there can be something about your natural ability with the Venus that can be distilled to the collective, or something that you can find spirituality within. But it's important that it's not just like frivolous or for its own sense, and that you don't fear going towards the ugly truth. Like a lot of times I see Venus conjoining South Node who almost have like nice girl, nice guy programming, where it's like, I need to be liked, I need to be adored. And living your life trying to be liked and adored maybe worked in last lifetimes, and you definitely were liked and adored, but it's like in this lifetime you have to be okay with facing the ugly truth and being hated for the person that you are rather than adored for who you are not, right? Not saying that people hate you, just a corny phrase, but like being able to deal with the truth of the matter, right? The substance of it. Because love Venus, every planet's valuable, but like Venus, the downside is that it can be shallow. And this is not a shallow experience for you. And it's like Venus is best sort of used in this lifetime when you put it towards the North Node purpose. As well as relationships can be something karmic for you. You can find that people that you date or significant partners are people from past lives that you're like kind of solving karma with. And relationships can be a challenge because they have that energy of like past life themes coming in. But I would just really encourage to choose a relationship that really allows you to attune to your North Node purpose. Because it's not that you won't be loved, it's not that you're not beautiful with the Venus energy, because South Node won't give us the true fulfillment that we crave and the growth that we crave. And there can be this energy of codependency at times with South Node on Venus, of feeling like I need to be adored, I need to be within a partnership. But sometimes in this life, growth could take you to other places. Growth could take you towards independence in certain parts of your life. I'm not saying you will never find your person or anything of that nature, but I've found oftentimes Venus conjunct South Node individuals, they can stagnate their growth when they stay in the connection just because they're fearful of being alone. Intentional singleness can be helpful during this to really just clarify what is valuable to you beyond just materialistic concerns and beyond just being adored by other people. Mars on the South Node. So you, my love, if the concept of past lives is one that feels resonant, you've lived a very Mars-like past life. So with Mars on the South Node, you could have been someone who is an athlete, you could have been someone who's a fighter, you could have been someone who was a go-getter, you went after what it was that you wanted, you fiercely defended yourself and advocated for yourself. And in this life, you might be like, while you might have some of those natural abilities that you should appreciate, with Mars on South Node, there can be this energy in this lifetime where you can find it's your comfort zone to fight, or to leave, or to defend yourself, or to hurt other people before they hurt you. And that's not where growth lies in this lifetime, because the detriment of this is that there can be this energy around constantly fighting and not knowing what you're fighting for, right? There can be certain things that you're angry about from past lives. If you have certain enemies, they could be people that you have karmic sort of connections with. Like with Mars on the South Node, you didn't really get past lives to just sort of relax. You had to be on guard. And there can also be this fight or flight energy around, gotta defend myself, But it's like whenever the South Node is conjoining a planet, it sort of like mutes and understates the energy. So you can find in this lifetime that there can be elements of confusion around how it is that you get what you want. You could have this energy around not knowing what you're fighting for, what it is that you are afraid of, or not knowing what you are inclined to stick up for. The best use of this is really finding something that you can be an advocate for that's bigger than yourself, because South Node does sort of call in these collective sort of spiritual themes. So with Mars on South Node, there can be certain causes that you feel inclined to stick up for, not just you, not just asserting and protecting yourself, but kind of helping the collective. And also look at the North Node to balance this as well. But part of it, in past lives, you always had to be on guard. You had to fight, you had to defend. And this lifetime, that energy around always fighting and always defending can be a downfall. It can be sort of a comfort zone. And it can be stemmed from a feeling of not feeling worthy of nice things, or feeling like people have ulterior motives. So you always need to defend yourself. You always need to be the strongest person. There could be competition, could also be sort of an energy that can lead to your downfall. Not to say that your downfall is coming, but being mindful, because I'm not a Vedic astrologer, but I do want to bring into focus that in Vedic astrology, South Node is governed by Mars. And you have Mars on the South Node. And I think of Mars in terms of like, you know, dopamine rushes, or like, you know, things that come easily to us. And with it on Mars, and with your South Node on Mars, you need to be mindful of your instincts and your impulses at times, because that can be an energy that can hold you back. It would behoove you to think more long term, and to really, really, when you feel aggravation or anger, really checking in with your body and relying more on logic, okay? Because Mars is sort of like our knee-jerk reactions at times. And with it on South Node, it can sort of be an energy that can bring the worst out of you, or sort of stagnate your growth. So part of this journey is around balancing your Mars. So, you know, getting angry, sure, but getting angry about the right things, and not living your life out of a lens of permanently being angry at the world. Funneling your anger towards a cause that you are passionate about, right? Like something could have happened to you where you feel very angry about it, but being able to advocate for other individuals and, you know, stick up for them, and as part of like a nonprofit or something of that nature, putting your Mars to a broader purpose, rather than just being angry and being on the offense for your entire world, as well as really defining what winning means to you. Like I said, competition can sort of be your downfall, and there's room for all of us to win. Someone else's winning doesn't indicate your loss. And I feel that a lot of times these individuals can have very win-lose paradigms, and forget that we can, you know, we can win and someone else can win. We just have to define what success looks like for us, and not feel like people who have a similar path are necessarily our competition. This could also be helpful to help other people on their particular journey, as well as take your kind of competitive go-getter spirit and be able to distill it into a cause and into a purpose, where it's not so knee-jerk, but it's more so showing up consistently, staying focused on your ambitions, on your longevity, rather than burning yourself out or living from this lens of constantly being competitive with other individuals, or even being on the offense, feeling like everyone is out to get you. Love, if you have Jupiter on your South Node, you had past lives where you were someone who was spiritual, you were someone who had a strong sense of morality, of what was right and wrong. You could have been an academic or a priest, or someone who helped people connect to the big picture. You could have been someone who traveled, and these are all qualities of yourself to be appreciated and to be desired, and your optimism. In this life, sort of a muscle that you're strengthening is around being able to balance out expansion with structure, okay? And I'll highlight what I mean. And in this lifetime, it is sort of about balancing these higher level concepts with logic and with the foundation and the structure of your reality. You should appreciate your South Node Jupiter, appreciate your sense of morals, appreciate your natural attunement to the big picture, but it's important that you put it and funnel it towards the North Node purpose, because the downside of Jupiter is that it can go to excess, and it can be illogical. It can live from faith and not attuned to the logistics of a situation. And so for you and for your North Node purpose and essentially ambitions within this lifetime, you can use a Jupiterian optimism and sense of faith, sure, towards that vision. But it's important that you don't live in a little Jupiterian delusional little space, because Jupiter is your comfort zone. So you feel safe and comforted around spirituality, or around constantly traveling or constantly expanding, or feeling like life is a very lovely place to be. It is, but optimism to the excess can be a negative, because there can be this energy where you don't necessarily want to deal with things that are negative necessarily, and you can want yourself to just be in your little Jupiterian space around not dealing with the reality of a situation. Because with Jupiter, you can put the optimism, the big picture, the natural wisdom that you have, put it towards the North Node purpose. But also know that with Jupiter on the South Node, there can be an excess of optimism that you have to be mindful of. You have to be mindful around making sure to ground yourself in logistics, and not just, live life from the higher level sense of like, what is right, what is wrong? Like, it's also about being able to put that right and wrong into action, right? Being able to take your morality and put it into action, your sense of faith and put it into action, as well as being mindful around attachment to what it is that you believe, where you ignore the logistics. Jupiter is also religion and spirituality, and sometimes with South Node Jupiter, these individuals have to let go of a religion or spirituality that does not serve them. And that can be challenging, because Jupiter, as optimistic as it can be, it could be rigid, it could be attached to, this is what I believe, this is the process of this world. And part of this is around being open to other people's perspective, not so rigidly attached to our beliefs, or this is what I believe, and I don't consider what's your sense of right or wrong, what it is that you believe. Like, part of the Jupiter energy that you're meant to funnel into is around being open to other people's truths, to other people's morals, being open to discovering more about your own as you continue, and also relying less on luck in this life, because I do want to highlight that when you have South Node on a planet, it does sort of mute and understate the planet. So you might find what it is that you seek in this life, it might not come to you through luck. It might have to come to you through hard work and structure and planning and logic and being open to other people, which might feel uncomfortable, because in past lives you could have really operated Jupiterian, like just attracting what you needed, attracting what you needed when you needed it, and you like developed that part of your soul, where in this lifetime you're really learning how it is to get what you want sort of from the ground up, and incorporating sort of like structure. So appreciate the Jupiterian optimism, appreciate the wisdom, the intelligence, the big picture attunement, but balance it with logic, with structure, as well as the energy of your North Node. Let's watch ungrounded expansion. Like, we think of expansion as a good thing, but also individuals who have Jupiter South Node, you can have a tendency to have grass is greener syndrome, like constantly on the move, searching for something that's better, more expansive, and not wanting to deal with reality, just looking for grass is greener, being optimistic about grass is greener, but not dealing with the logistics of it, and not taking care of what it is that you have before expanding to the next thing. Like, optimism, like I said, can be a downside. Expansion can be a downside. So yes, growth is important in this life, and with North Node, it's where it is that we grow, but it's also about balancing. So like, yes, maybe we expand the wing of our house, but we need to make sure we're also cleaning that wing rather than planning the next wing and the next wing. Watch Moritis, Jupiter conjuncts the South Node, because that can be an energy that can sort of keep you from growing. Like, part of your growth story is sort of interesting, because it's sort of like learning to temper growth with maintenance, learning to temper expansion with logic. This is for you if you have Saturn on the South Node. So love, you had Saturnian past life. So you could have been someone who was a leader. You were someone who was an authoritarian. You were someone who other people respected, and you lived your life from sort of this austere, pragmatic lens. And you should appreciate it. Saturn certainly gave you a natural attunement to what is logical, what is realistic. It gave you a natural pragmatism, as I brought to the surface. But in this life, you can find that Saturn energy can sort of hold you back in a sense, or keep you from growing. There can be this energy where you never want to try something new. You want to do things around how they've always been done. You can argue for your limitations. You can, every time someone tells you, well, you could solve that problem doing this or going this way, you say, well, I couldn't because A, B, and C. And don't get me wrong, with Saturn on South Node, typically these individuals can have very challenging lives. But in this lifetime, it's about not letting your life be defined by those restrictions and by those challenges that you could feel boxed in by every so often. With Saturn on the South Node, it's about being able to rewrite codes and rules if they do not align for us. Like if you live the life based on what other people want for you, you will not get the growth and the satisfaction that you live and that you crave. Because it's interesting talking to these individuals because they can think a lot like, okay, I became a dentist just like my father wanted me to do, and I got the house, and like, why am I not happy? Like I did the rules, I played by the rules. I thought this is where happiness was, or growth. And you should take that natural responsibility that you have with the Saturn on the South Node, but being able to break the rules that don't make sense to you, to release societal's expectations if they don't align with what it is that you want for your life. For you, it's interesting because your comfort zone is around doing things the way that they've been done and maintaining tradition, even if it doesn't serve you. Like with North Node, it's about relinquishing expectations other people put on you that no longer resonate. Rules, societal rules, where it's like you need a baby by this age and all these things, where it's like that doesn't work for my life. Create your own rules, okay? Appreciate your natural ambition, your natural pragmatism, but also know in this lifetime, the rules for society at the end, if you follow the rules of society, you never eat the carrot cake. You never try anything, go anywhere. You save every penny you make. There's not like a gold medal awaiting you when you cross over to the other side. Sorry to get so morbid, but it's like with Saturn on South Node, they can feel this enormous pressure around they have to do everything perfectly, that they can forget to just live, and that they can forget to live and establish rules and what it is that they want for their world outside of the projections other people put on them. And yes, appreciate your sense of duty and responsibility, but also try not to sacrifice yourself towards ideals or expectations or rules that simply don't lead to your greatest happiness. And when you have Saturn, it is a balancing act. So I'm not saying break all the laws, but I'm saying if you feel pressured from your family, from society around this is how you need to live, I want you to really question and consider what is valuable to me. What is it that I want to build? What do I want my enduring legacy to be? Because with Saturn, you naturally have a longevity, like you naturally know how to build something that lasts. You naturally have this ability to build something from the ground up. At times it can make you quite melancholic and very hard on yourself. It's about tempering that and putting that Saturnian energy towards your North Node purpose. Being able to question authority, question traditions, question society, find the new rules that work for you, and put the Saturn gifts that it gave you towards the North Node purpose, building the structures that are valuable to you, building the traditions that are valuable to you, building projects of longevity that are valuable to you. This is for you if you have Uranus on the South Node. So love, you might have been like some sort of rebel in a past life, or a genius, or someone who like broke the rules. And while we should appreciate the brilliance, the natural desire to want to shake things up with Uranus on the South Node, that's not necessarily where your growth resides. There could be this energy in this lifetime where you can crave constant changes. And if things are too stable, you can almost crave just doing something impulsive just to feel something and just break out. Because in past lives, it's like that was your role. You disrupted, you innovated, you asked questions, and you basically shook things up. And with Uranus South Node, that energy in this lifetime won't bring you the results that you want. Like it could almost be like, just constantly doing these impulsive things and then getting to, you impulsively move to Tahiti, and then you get there and you're like, now I want to go to Japan. Like that desire for change might not be satiated because it's not necessarily coming from a place of growth. It's coming from a place of chaos where it's almost like externally changes can feel comfortable to you. There can be certain fears around blending in with society and almost like doing strange or bizarre things just because you don't want to be them. You don't want to fit in with them. And you should appreciate Uranus. Like, these individuals tend to be brilliant. They are individuals who they don't feel like they're part of society, which is why they can have all these changes, why they can be considered strange or bizarre. And you should appreciate that, but put that sort of on the outside looking in or marching to the beat of my own drum towards a bigger cause. Because part of, you know, the Uranus thing is that they can feel, oh, I'm so different than other people. No one can understand. But it's like when you have Uranus and South Node, a lot of times part of your mission could be around speaking to the other weirdos, to the other people who felt different on this society and speaking towards them and not creating distance because you're like, oh, well, no one gets me. No one's like me, right? I'm my own individual. Like, that's the sort of energy that can block you from your own sense of growth, because South Node sort of is a spiritual influence, and that it sort of dissolves the planet that it conjoins and makes it really powerful when distilled towards a larger or more spiritual or more collective cause. So with Uranus on the South Node, rather than just disrupting things just to shake up the status quo, it could be really powerful for you to embody that energy for the collective, banding together with other people who feel like that and not being like, well, I'm so different, no one could possibly understand. As well as just being mindful around doing impulsive things just to feel something or just to be different than other people. Like, you can really benefit from structure and being able to take your brilliance and your rebellion and put it into structures and put it into something tangible and real. There could be this energy around being a rebel without a cause, right? Just wanting to challenge the status quo just because that's what feels natural to you, without really putting it towards a structure, giving it a focus, being a rebel with a cause, essentially, really integrating the natural ability you have to question authority, to be your own person, to march to be their own drum, to be brilliant, to embrace your weird and embrace others too. Appreciate that, but give it some structure, give it a vision, give it a higher cause, rather than just disrupting your life just because you're craving this sense of freedom. Because it can create, like, for you, living this really impulsive life is kind of your comfort zone. And it's like you're challenging yourself by taking that Uranus ability you have and putting it towards your North Node purpose, growing in that particular way. This is for you if you have Neptune on the South Node. So you, my love, if the concept of past lives resonates, you were a mystic or someone who had gifts, psychic abilities. You could have been someone very glamorous on the silver screen or something of the nature. Or there's also a possibility that you could have been quite the escapist or had substance issues. One way or another, life was about the ethereal more than the tangible. And in this life, you've been tasked with balancing it. It's almost like your South Node is like this siren song. And with Neptune, it's almost like singing, like, come away with me, ignore reality, just talk to your spirit guides all day, or just get to the bottom of this wine bottle all day, or just lose yourself in art all day, ignore reality. And we need to appreciate the gifts Neptune gave us. Neptune likely gave you a strong sense of intuition, maybe psychic ability, selflessness and compassion to the collective. It could have given you a natural mysticism, a natural sense of art, but it also gave you this uncertainty around what is real and what is not. And at times that can be very challenging for you. There can be certain tendencies around being quite the procrastinator or being quite the escapist, not wanting to deal with reality. And that could be your comfort zone. And we need to balance it. Like, it is important with Neptune, you know, that we don't go to excess with escapism, like healthy doses of imagination and being able to put your imagination and your compassion and selflessness to your North Node purpose. Because I also want to draw in a focus with Neptune. It's sort of like our higher selflessness. And you could be someone where it's like you care so deeply about humanity that you want to give everything. And like, part of sacrifice in this lifetime is around having boundaries. Like, you can care about people without sacrificing your entire being for them, right? You can help people spiritually evolve without, you know, never eating food and just staring at the clouds all day because you're connecting to your third eye chakra and never dealing with reality ever. Like, there is a balance. And in past lifetimes, it was imbalanced. You were so into the kind of the spiritual ethereal world that you forgot to ground it down. And in this lifetime, it's about filtering and funneling that Neptunian energy, the spiritual attunement that you have, the connection to some sort of spirituality, the selflessness, the connection to art, and putting it towards your North Node purpose, grounding yourself down every so often, dealing with problems head on rather than avoiding and escaping is really important for you as well. And just regularly grounding down into, okay, what is real, what is in front of me, what is tangible, like having practices, spending lots of time in nature, anything that grounds you into your physical body, right? Because you are sort of here to understand boundaries to a certain extent. 'Cause past lives you could have, not understood that. And for you to be able to distill the love that you have, the compassion, the spiritual abilities, and perhaps the intuition that you have to a bigger cause, it has to do with grounding it down in reality, things that you could taste, touch, and see and smell. And the tangible world has boundaries, right? This chair stops when this wall begins. Spirit might be, formless, and that's what you're sort of attuned to, but it's like you are here to ground it down into reality. So just like physical belongings have a stop and have a start, you also, your heart, your ability to give towards people needs to have a start, needs to have a stop. This is not a bleeding heart lifetime. I don't want to see you sacrificing yourself for the goods of others, because it does feel like you could have done that in a past life. It is about compassion with boundaries, psychic ability, but using it to enrich your real life rather than avoid reality altogether. So if you have Pluto on the South Node, you could have been someone in a past life who was very, very powerful, who was very intense. You could have been a spy or a researcher or someone who was accustomed to going deep to understand the nitty-gritty. But you can be someone who's very psychologically attuned. Like you really want to understand people, you want to understand their mind. And this is a gift that was given to you from past lives around wanting to really understand people to a deeper level. With Pluto in the South Node, there could have been certain traumatizing things like in past lives that you kind of had to deal with, because Pluto is extremes, right? And so in this lifetime, there can almost be this energy where you're like waiting for the other shoe to drop, where you feel like around any corner something horrible is going to happen. And that's sort of a fear that's come with you from a past life. And I just first want to let you know, of course, ups and downs happen with everything, but there's almost this energy that a horrible event is going to happen with Pluto in South Node. You can constantly fear the worst. You can even just self-sabotage when you're looking at someone, you're like, they're going to break up with me, or something horrible is going to happen here. Being mindful around not letting your sort of anxieties run your entire life, as well as the extreme black and white thinking that you have, oh, my boyfriend ignored me today, so we're over. You can go to extremes with things. You can also be very paranoid. While you are psychologically sort of tuned in, wanting to understand people, you can, again, fear the absolute worst and be very paranoid and very fearful and live your life from that state. And it is about balancing, the psychological attunement that you have, the power that you have with your North Node purpose, and really grounding it there, resisting black and white extremes, resisting fearing the worst case possible scenario at every turn. Putting this psychological attunement that you have towards your North Node purpose. I also want you to be mindful around destruction, because that's what you knew from prior incarnations. If that's a concept that resonates, you could have been someone where it was you had to leave what it was that you loved at any given moment. You had to sort of rebirth yourself. Like I said, there can be traumatic themes from past lifetimes around having to deal with, death and really intense themes. There could be an energy of self-sabotage, where if something feels too good to be true, destroying it, burning it down to the ground, because you're something bad's gonna happen. Something bad always happens. Or waiting for the shoe to drop, burning down what it is that you built out of these feelings that everything's going to end. So it's better that you're in control of it, giving you a sense of power. Because you could have been someone powerful in a past life. In fact, I feel like you were. And it's also important to check that power in this life, because with Pluto on South Node, power just to feel powerful in this lifetime isn't going to be fulfilling. How do you wield that power? How do you use it effectively? How do you ensure that you don't trample over other individuals in your quest to get that power? Really investigate the relationship that you have to power, and using it wisely, and not letting that power corrupt you. taking the power that you tend to naturally sort of magnetize your way, because you are kind of like a powerful, intense individual, and putting it towards your North Node purpose. Because, you know, I can get all this power, you know, become a politician because I want the attention, I want the accolades, I want to feel powerful, I want to be able to make my own rules. But in this lifetime, taking that power that you can ascend to put towards the world that you want to build, the changes that you want to see, and especially the North Node path that you are meant to walk. Because power just for its own mean will not give you the sense of vitality and fulfillment that you are looking for in this lifetime. And the final planet, it's not a planet, it's a comet, but the final celestial body we'll be discussing within this video is Chiron on the South Node. And I love using Chiron. Not a lot of astrologers use it or love it as much as I do, but I'm very Chironian, so I love the Chiron energy. So what I want to draw into focus here, if you have Chiron on the South Node, you had a very Chironian past life around someone who was very self-conscious. You could have been someone who felt like you were too sensitive to survive. You could have felt like your flaws and your insecurities were visible for all to see. The very act of living could have been painful. It was the study of pain. And it's given you a natural empathy. It's given you a natural sensitivity, which you should appreciate, but not get too enveloped into the energy of Chiron, because your work is in balancing the Chiron with your North Node, around not living and letting that pain define the whole of your existence, but alchemizing it and turning it into a bigger cause. Because when you have Chiron on South Node, a lot of people can argue and argue and argue for their insecurities and for their limitations, and say, I will never be able to be an actress because I have a nose that looks like this, or because my voice sounds like this. With Chiron on the South Node, it's about not letting this existence be defined purely by our insecurities on their own, but funneling them to our North Node purpose, balancing it, not letting our sensitivity define us, not letting our wounds define us, and being able to put it towards the North Node purpose. So to draw into focus, let's say South Node on Chiron, a lot of people live from that Chironian energy around feeling wounded, feeling too soft to survive, feeling vulnerable. Appreciate that. Appreciate the gift that you have to talk to other people who have felt left out, felt on the outside looking in, feel different than other people, feel like their insecurities are on a billboard for all people to see. Appreciate that, but know in this lifetime, defending, saying, you know, I can't be an actress because my nose looks like this. I can't be, you know, a vet because I don't feel like I'm smart enough. Like defining yourself only by the ways that you don't feel like enough in this lifetime won't give you the fulfillment that you crave. It's about being able to take that empathy, take the wound, take the insecurities that Chiron has given you and the empathy that it's given you, and funnel it towards your North Node purpose. So rather than just like saying, I can't be an actress because my nose, I can't be an actress because of my nose, being able to take that and still put ourselves out there, still show up, and perhaps inspire other people to not feel defined by their insecurities as well. To be able to be the lighthouse for other Chironian types who could struggle in those particular ways. And it's not to say that you need to necessarily heal all of your wounds, because Chiron is the eternal wound. Like with South Node on it, it does mute and understate the energy a little bit, but there is something important about something that has wounded you or something that has made you insecure that you're meant to pull into your North Node purpose. Not get stuck there, not baby yourself around, oh, boo-hoo, why does my nose look like this? I'm so bummed. Be able to take it, show up, and maybe inspire other people who might look like you do, and be able to be a lighthouse for other Chironians who say, hey, I disliked how I looked every time I went in the mirror, but I still showed up. I overcame my insecurities. I overcame my wounds, and you can too. Because South Node is a kind of spiritual influence. So with it on Chiron, it can be something that can be distilled to the collective, and you can be quite the healer, but it's important you didn't stay overly attached to the wound. Notice the wound, notice where it inspires you, but grow beyond it, right? Let it give you that empathy, but don't let it define your entire existence by where it was that this world told you that you were too sensitive or too ugly or too whatever. Like allow yourself to continue to show up fearlessly. Like allow yourself to show up, appreciate what your Chiron gave you, but also not letting yourself be defined by it. Also choosing to show up regardless of how it stings, regardless of where you've hurt, regardless of how sensitive you are, continuing to grow beyond that wound. It might still hurt. Chiron typically does. but we still show up regardless. Loves, this was such a fun video. I'm so grateful. I have so many individuals here who also love North Node and South Node as I do. Please let me know what resonated below. I would so love to hear. Again, you're going to want to take this into account along with the signs that your North Node and South Node are in, the houses your North Node and South Node are in, as well as what planets are conjoining. And it also goes even more in depth. We can also have planets bending the nodes, which is when it's squaring the North Node, squaring the South Node. Loves, if you want a video on that, please let me know because I'm a North Node nerd. I could talk about this stuff all day. I just talked about it for about an hour and a half, so I think you can sense my passion. Loves, my Instagram handle is @HaleyCommentAstrology. My TikTok is the same. I would love to connect with you over there. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.